Hello folks, I'm Callus, and in today's video I wanted to do something a little different. I got the idea from a YouTuber named Silverblade Dagger of building my base in creative mode where I can simply focus on the build and implement some Alpha 16 features that I wanted to use since before the features were even available. I will talk about those systems as the video progresses. I really wanted to keep the length of the video down to about 25 minutes, but that was impossible while showing all the things I wanted to show. I will provide a timeline link below the video for your convenience if you would prefer to skip to the final base tour and a more than average testing of the base's systems. We're in the Navisgain map, and I've been playing this exact spot for a long time. I had this weird idea of keeping track of the resources I used in this build. So these boxes I'm looking in now is an account of everything I pulled out of the creative menu, and in the end I expect to put the ones I don't finish using in the subtract these box, but these are the resources I pulled out. It is no way complete. And we got some food and drink. I wanted to use this run time of day one as my kind of a starting whistle, if you will. So that's what I did. I did take the time to pull out some decent tools, not weapons, and along with those materials. And this spot I'm digging in now has always been my entrance, like a man door, if you will. And that hole in there lines up with that shutter. So I then line up the center of my base with that same shutter and start doing my layout. I've already got my center laid out, and now I'm laying out the edges of my base and the corners. Is what I'm digging out there. This here is the representation of the center of my base. I'll use a 5x5 workstation. So I'm laying this out, and then I will dig out the corners for that because it is 4 meters deeper than the rest of the base. And I also kept track of, as best I could, the resources I was gathering from all this digging, and that will be shown later as well. The dimensions of my base now, I have modified it with the electricity, are 27 by 27 by 9 deep for the main part of the base, and then that workstation area is another 4 meters deeper. So here it's just a matter of digging out, and I really wanted to, that's why I wanted to do this in creative mode, so I could see just really how much build time it takes. Now, obviously, if you know the game, you know that you're not going to have tools like this early in the game. So, in reality, I mean, this base, I've been building this base for a while. You don't have to build the entire base before Horde Night. You can build, what I typically do is build one side at a time. It's got 4 sides, so I can easily get one side built and usable before the 7-day Horde. And then, obviously, in that time, my tools will be getting improved. So the rest of the build goes faster. I haven't been able to build it to this extent in game because I play permadeath. I guess some people call it permadeath. I just call it one life. So I typically die before I get the entire base built up. But there were a lot of systems for a bunker that I wanted to build before electricity was even part of the game. So now that it is part of the game, I wanted to take full advantage of the things I want to do, and one of those was that I wanted to have indicator lights in my bunker that would show me which direction the zombies are coming from at Horde Night, or whenever. Because, you know, I mean, I get tired of wearing my helmet all the time, my miner's hat. And so the idea was, you know, when the zombies aren't around, I don't need that miner's hat. So it was kind of a two birds with one stone idea. And here I got this idea from Z Nation, those of you that know who he is, of digging this out. When you're not needing the materials, you just need to get it dug out and you need the space. And it is very effective. And granted, you do take a loss in some of the resources, but you know, I'm not doing it for the resources, I'm doing it for the build. I did grab what I could and stowed it just so I can have an idea, a general idea of what was being collected. And here I'm getting the majority of it dug out, as you can see. This is again 9 meters deep. And there were other things in this video that I probably didn't have to do, like this right here, which I also got from Z Nation. But I am finding it more and more handy. So I'm doing it more and more often, and it is to level the ground as the other stones and stuff that I was knocking down falls on the ground. You know, it damages it. So putting those crates on it, see, here's me keeping track of some of the resources. Putting those crates on the damaged ground, it kind of heals it, or at least levels it out. Now that I've got the main part of the base dug out, I'm working on the extra 5x5. Now the 5x5, the workstation is up at ground level. It's not this low, but what is this low is my entrance, where I was digging that hole in the house that lined up with a shutter. This is my entrance tunnel that goes and meets up with that. So it's an underground entrance, one of them. And this spot, I don't know what it is. I started, I don't remember if it was Alpha 14 or 15 or whatever it was, but I was looking for the biggest spot in the map, biggest flat spot on the map I could find to build. Must have been Alpha 15 when they did away with Hub City. No, Hub City was still in Alpha 15, wasn't it? Anyway, so that's how I found this location, and as I was building my build, I just started to realize that everything was lining up just right. So numbers wise, the space works out very well for my needs. And I do still use these 50 pillars. Pillar 50s, I'm not sure what you want to call them. They're not concrete, these are steel, but obviously you're not gonna, again, have these available to you early in the game. You would have to have concrete and upgrade them, which I do have steel by day 7, so that's not that much of an issue. By then I'm using it for tools. I will definitely have all the steel columns by the 14-day horde, easy. But you know, the first bits of steel goes for tools, as it should. Normally I don't. In-game I wouldn't spend time with making concrete blocks. I would go rebar, as those of you that do know the game know that that is the most economical way to do it. But for this build, because I wanted to limit myself to the resources I could fit in one box, but still have enough to do the whole build, I opted to use these blocks. They will get upgraded later, of course. So here I've got the top, the roof, if you will, of my bunker is ground level, because what I would typically do in game is I'd build my 5x5 first, and I have wooden spikes on the top of it, so that when my forges and everything are in there cooking and they happen to bring in the screamers, they'll get into the spikes, and my base kind of becomes self-defending in that way. So here I am. This is my man door, my man access from inside that house. So putting ladders up, and of course, you know, always leaving the bottom ladder out. But that can be modified later. I do end up putting some security turrets there. But, you know, it's really nothing to jump once you're up on the ladder. And here I'm laying out for my mini bike entrance. I call it like my bat cave because it is the spot I chose. Again, everything just happens to fit in this position, in this spot. It's just a little incline in the road, and I just carve a hole right in the middle of that incline and put my entrance for the mini bike right there. Then it has to slope down to, see, you can see a little there. It does eventually have to slope downhill a little bit to meet up with the bottom of the bunker. So I've got the walls in, the roof in. And here, I believe I'm digging out for my electric fences. Now, I've done testing in creative mode, and I know I can stretch that electric fence wire 12 meters, but no more. Even to get, you can't drag it 12 meters, but if you're in between the two fence posts, you can reach further than you can drag that wire. So that's how I get 12 meters. I'm not using 12 meters in this build. I think it's more like 8 or 9. So, but that gives me, you know, there is later in this video, you'll see that, especially in this little area here, it's only 2 meters tall by the time you put a floor in. So your head is always, you always feel like your head is rubbing on the ceiling, and that drives me crazy. So, but as if I've got a couple of more meters on the electric fences, I could modify this another block or two deeper. Each block measures a meter, so that would, you know, I'm fine with 3 meters for my personal space, because then I don't feel like my head is scraping on the ceiling. So here's where I'm showing hooking up the upper wire fence posts to the lowers. I think I did have to carve out a few of those blocks here and there because I had, as you saw in the last little clip, got just too ahead of myself and putting them all down. But here, I didn't. And that was about the extent of my reach for that wire. Now, that doesn't mean if these lower posts were lower, I wouldn't have been able to make them still connect. It's just I couldn't, personally, couldn't be any lower. But it took me, I think, three tries to get this base build down in creative mode, fully the way I wanted it. I always wanted to have, you know, when they were first talking about the electric fence wires and everything, you know, with this base build, and again, like I said, I've been building it forever, I knew that I'd be able to put control switches up on the walls inside, just above the columns there. That way I could turn them on and off as I needed, because, you know, the zombies only come from one side at a time. So here I've finished my Batcave entrance. I do use the rebar frames almost like scaffolding. You know, I'll put them down as temporary placeholders. Use them for ladders. Use them for scaffolding. And I use those upgraded catwalks, you know. Well, obviously for a catwalk around the base like that, but they're also holding up my fence post, so that was a nice way they worked out. As you can see closer here, I wish the bottom of the fence post didn't poke all the way through them, but you know, whatever. It is what it is. It won't affect how they work. I did have to do a little bit of modifying to keep those fence posts protected from the zombies as they were coming in. My pit is too wide, and I used to have it just drop straight down in, but with those fence posts I was worried they'd be able to do damage to them. So I made ramps, so you know, the ramps would have the zombies below those fence posts before they were actually into the pit. That was my plan anyway. Here, it took me a minute to learn how to use these. This is another system I wanted to set up when I found out about these pressure plates, because those of you that do know the game, you know that zombies stack on top of each other, and what I wanted to do was I used those pressure plates on the wall with darts behind them, so as they're hitting on the base, you know, the dart traps are hitting them back. I don't even have to do anything with those zombies then, you know, they'll do it to themselves. This is kind of one of my little maintenance passageways, so I'm hooking up lights, all the relays that will go to switches and then go to the pressure plates, and then from there to the dart traps. So this is really the initial wiring of this, and then of course it took a couple of tries to get that worked out just right. And all four sides are identical. Those relays will only wire 9 objects each, and there happen to be, I believe it's 19 dart traps and pressure plates, so the one in the very center, it's just on all the time. This is where I'm hooking up that first relay to the switch that will power all the pressure plates and dart traps on this side. So from that relay to the switch, back to another relay, and see there I'm marking that one center one so I don't accidentally try and get it hooked up. And then it's just a matter of running a wire from the relay to the pressure plate, from the pressure plate to the dart trap. And just wash, rinse, and repeat until you're done. It does end up with a mess of wires everywhere, and I did put a little bit, some moderate effort into hiding wires as much as I could, but you can only do so much. If they would just make the wires so they were straight lined instead of hanging down and sagging like that, that would do with a lot of it. Hiding the wires. And naturally, you know, you had to use single 1x1 pressure plates instead of the 1x5s because the zombies only occupy one space. And I don't need a zombie in one block hitting the 5x pressure plate and having all 5 dart machines firing when only one of them's hitting them. Again, this is by no means a cheap build. So this was very much a, I don't know, I wouldn't call it necessarily an end game build, but maybe, I don't know. I've never had a problem with this build. It's always held up. I use spikes in the pit, and oftentimes you gotta do is just keep maintenance on the spikes. The spikes will do all the damage. It's slow. But you know, I play for the loot. That's why I use a pit. I don't want the zombies to be able to get away. Once they're in there, they're trapped, and they're just steady taking damage the entire time. You can see by all the generators and stuff in here, the engines, small engines that are in the generators. I mean, if you know the game, you know that's way down the road. But I did want to see what kind of power draws these systems are going to create. Here's a little base tour of what I've got so far. This day 7, you know, midday. And I really tried to put in a good effort of using my time as wise as I could. So, you know, well, there wasn't a whole lot of pausing. There wasn't much of anything. If I wasn't working, I was turning it off. Because in creative mode, you can hit the escape key and the time still keeps rolling. I don't understand that part. But, you know, whatever. Lights, you know, of course, you gotta have lights down the hallway. There will be guns there. Later I decided to put guns over here by the ladders. I put lots of guns in because we all know how zombies are attracted to doors, and if you don't have doors, well, then they're not attracted to that spot. So, hell, just don't put doors in your doorway. Just put guns there that'll kill anything that might happen to wander in. And that's what I end up doing. And they do quite a bit of testing. Not all of it is in this video. But at the end, I feel like I do put in some better than average testing of the systems. Nothing irradiated, nothing exploding. But, you know, practically about the next best thing, I think. The White Walkers, also known as the Old Ferals. Now, having to build it this way is almost built backwards from how I would have to do it in game. By this time, I would have my 5x5 done, and that's where I'd keep all both my forges, my 2 cement mixers, my chem station, all that, you know, campfires. And you know, once that 5x5 is built, I can be in there working, and I can be under here digging all this out at night, not having to worry about zombies sneaking up on me or catching me or anything. And here's where I'm testing the pressure plate. I got a few darts in there. 1 second for power delay and 1 second for power duration I found is the best for what I'm using it for. I only want it to, you know, it's not intended to be a full-time defense system. It's only intended to be needed when that wall gets hit. So otherwise it won't draw power and it won't use up all those darts. And you'll see later in the test, it does get used. About what I would expected. Not too much, not too little. But it works well. Does exactly what it was intended to do. Here I'm laying down the ramps that I was talking about earlier. Normally I wouldn't have even had to build ramps into that, but like I said, with those fence posts being so close, you know, all this stuff, I know exploding cops are probably going to take out, well, probably more than I really want it to, but it'd be easy enough to replace. It'd be harder to gather all this stuff up at one time than it would be to replace it. And here it's making me a little nervous the way those ramps were, so I wanted to just kind of beef that up a little bit more. You know, exploding cops, they've increased their splash damage when they've exploded. I've learned that. And you know, stairs. I do kind of like these stairs, and it is very nice that with the dynamic handrails as they are. And here I was like, what the hell? I put stairs in. I didn't even finish digging out the rest of the rock. That was another thing I wanted to do, was no exposed earth anywhere, you know. I wanted to have every bit of it enclosed in base and to maintain what surprised me here was that I was able to, with the auger, reach between the handrail and auger that stone block out. It didn't surprise me so much that I could put the concrete block in its place, but just that the auger wouldn't destroy that set of stairs. And putting down more of these catwalks, upgraded catwalks, just to be able to maintain my elevations and have headroom. I never did get a full count of how many generators I've put in this base, but it was a lot. And a whole lot more small engines, of course. I really like being able to use these hatches as just covers, like I do. I've seen Emma Harkham, if you guys are familiar with her, she uses those as drawbridges in and out of her base. The zombies don't jump. They can't jump a 1 meter gap, so she just uses those. And it worked out fantastically. Quite impressed with that. Here I'm checking headroom. I tell you, it drives me crazy. I don't like, in this game especially, you just feel like your head is scraping on the ceiling. And you'll see it later. Probably when I'm going through one of these maintenance tunnels. Handrails, of course, not a necessity. It's just, oh, jump for joy. It works. It's there for aesthetics. I end up putting drop box crates there later on, so I mean, there might have even, I don't remember if I even left those handrails there or not. Here's where I'm starting to set up for the motion sensors that are going to control the lights in the pit. So when I'm in there, these cameras will see the zombies coming. They'll light up a light that's down in the pit. So essentially the zombies are technically lighting themselves. And then I can put real armor on my head instead of that damn miner's helmet that's half-ass at best. And I've tested a lot of lights in this system. In A.16 I was testing the street lights. I would build up the street lamps, lamp posts, and put them on my base, and they don't shine down there very well, even when I didn't have that catwalk hanging over. Back then I didn't need to have catwalk hanging over. I would build the walls up so that I could go up on the roof and hunt and whatever from there. But another thing I've always wanted to do also was, here I'm testing the lights, testing the cameras, and you see they're working. But I always wanted to build a Thunderdome style base. So here I'm showing my defense turrets for anything that happens to wander down the hall. You can see those drop boxes up there that I was just talking about. And I gotta say, these auto turrets are a whole lot better than the shotgun turrets. A lot more effective and faster firing. So I think, yeah, here I do a little test. She was dead before I could even close the menu. I figured, well, that's good enough. Up here I did put in, started with shotgun turrets. I'm calling this my Bat Cave entrance. Don't ask. I ended up doing a lot of testing here because it just took a long time before it would get to the quality I wanted it to be. And no, I would not do stop signs. I don't think in game you can do stop signs, but I just found them in creative mode and I thought, why the hell not? I have always done this Bat Cave entrance though. Anything that wanders down the hall, shotgun turrets will get them. If there happens to be anything more, then the turrets at the bottom of the ramp will get them. And it got me thinking, well, you know, I better have some more, excuse me, better have some more turrets for this ladder entrance here. This man entrance, I don't know what to call it. Man door, whatever. Main entrance. Nice thing is pull electricity right off this light system here. I don't ever really expect these to get used because zombies don't take out hatches in the floor and they don't come down ladders. You know, well, they will come down ladders, but you know, you can see the bodies on the floor. It works pretty well. And then at this point, it was just got to the point where I was ready to start upgrading. I used a lot more concrete than I thought I would for the upgrading. I probably could have used less cement blocks, but I think I must have used, and I didn't get a final count yet. See, here I'm pulling out another 24,000 concrete mix, but I think I used close to 250 to 300,000 concrete mix for upgrades. Some of that went to waste because there were a lot of blocks that I ended up cutting out. Thought I liked it, turns out I didn't. Yeah, I mean, like some of those right there, I ended up taking some of those out. And it was just there for looks. It's not a necessity at all. A lot of this stuff will be upgraded to steel later, but you know, it's got to upgrade it to reinforced concrete first. I do like the concrete because I like having only one resource needed to upgrade the majority of the base. Now there will be obvious things like spikes and the concrete pillar 50s. They get upgraded to steel pillars later on, but you know, what's that? 2 resources are needed to do maintenance. This is all resources I've been collecting from digging. 2 boxes worth. And got to the point where, okay, it's time to make it pretty. You know, it still only takes concrete mix to repair it, but I always like the look of the brick. Their painting mechanic needs a lot of work. See there, I painted my stairs, but you know, luckily it rubs off most surfaces. It doesn't rub off the catwalks very well, not the frames of the catwalks. Here I am upgrading these areas I expect that's going to take most damage to steel. And you know, wandering hordes are not going to be very big. Half a dozen. So the odds of them coming in and getting hooked up on those things, you know, it's really, really slim. But on the off chance it does happen, they do need to be upgraded. Loading up the dart traps and just about ready to do, or getting ready to do my systems test. Happy with the base where it is. So here's the full tour. At this point I'm considering the base done. Added some unnecessary signs, mostly for this base tour. Obviously in game I wouldn't need those. But there's been some changes, like more pressure plates and dart traps up here, and more electric fences running through the floors, or from wall to wall. And it, again, took a lot of testing, but I finally got it to do as good as I wanted it to do. Now in game, I would have all these trees here too, because if you know this area, there is nothing around for trees. For wood, not enough. You gotta go all the way across the river to the south and chop down wood in those mountains over back there. But bring the pine cones, plant them. See, there's my idea of the Thunderdome. It'll, you know, back out 15 we had yellow jackets. This game we've got buzzards, so I won't have to worry about those. And I really don't expect the need to be up on the roof very often, so I don't have to worry about cops spitting shit at them and destroying them, because they only do that if they see you. Did go into God mode here just to get a little overhead view, show where I'm at in the Navezgane map. It's right up there by Pariston, and the coordinates are right here at the top, just above the map. Honestly, in the Navezgane, this is my favorite place to build. I don't have to mess with too hot and too cold in the same day. Just put a poncho on. That's all you need. You will get too cold if you run to the mountains, which is, they need to balance that out quite a bit. But these wood frames I've got sit here just so that when I do spawn zombies in for the test, I needed something to spawn them against. I do use the wooden spikes around the bunker there, around the pit there. That's just to slow some of them down, maybe take out some of their legs. And I do always have this garden set up here too. 10 of each, 10 of everything I need. Aloe vera, coffee, potato, cotton, blueberries, goldenrod, chrysanthemum, hops, yucca fruit, and corn. And I'm a player that uses beer constantly because there is absolutely no downside to it. You can drink a beer and run across half of the map on that one beer, even the first day of the game, and stamina will stay where it is. Just going up into my maintenance passageways. This is kind of, I guess, my main generator. This powers up the majority of the lights in the most usable, or in the most used areas. And then for each side of the base, the dart traps and the pressure plates and the electric fences. No, these electric fences aren't included in this. But each side has a generator that will power the dart traps and the pressure plates. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm going through, turning them on, and show it's using 23 watts of power out of a maximum of 564. Now, obviously, that usage will spike up as, you know, they punch the pressure plates and it activates everything. But, you know, again, don't forget, this is only for the zombies that are standing on top of other zombies that can reach those pressure plates. So I don't expect this to be using a whole bunch of fuel. In-game, you know, to be able to come up with all these resources to build all this is going to be a nightmare. So it'll be a long game. You see how you feel like your head is scraping on the ceiling? Yeah, I don't like that. Another 2 meters for the depth of the whole thing would have fixed all that. But this goes into another maintenance room. These are the fences where I'm running wire through the hallway to another room on the other side, just like this. And it's 2 different electric fence systems. So I've got each side, everything's run on a power switch or 3. Except for the lights, of course. They need to be on all the time. And all of this is powered by this one generator down here. You can see those are the wires going up to the pressure plates. This generator's going to, you know, the switches and the lights and all that other stuff. The other relay is up above that feeds the fences. Believe it or not, it's that main generator I was talking about, the one that's always running out of gas the most, but still it'll last the day. I wanted that glass does block a little bit of the light. not much, but it does block enough to where I had to almost overlight that area. More lighting than I normally, well, would have wanted than there's my drop box area. Little tour of, this is my underground maintenance, my main electric fence, and I wired that up to switches. Because I don't feel like you should have to wear your miner's hat in your base all the time. You know, and with the progression of the electricity, hopefully we'll get there, but if you play the game, you know, it's not good enough. I don't really predict on needing to be in here very often, so it'll almost always be off. Make sure everything's loaded so we can run a systems test. And this is why I'm doing it now. It's like, oh, yeah, well, I better go power it on, huh? One of these security systems is powered by this generator. Which is having a 81 watt draw. Of course, that was probably just on the lights. I didn't have to see what it was before I powered up all the turrets. You see, these are turrets, wires, port pressure plates, center pressure plates, and then the starboard pressure plates are on the starboard side. This ended up working out really very, very well. Almost better than I wanted it to, but this is really what I wanted it to do. It needed to, and I did add more guns up there. A lot more guns. When I did my testing, I was spawning 25 at a time. Just random strength enemies. And I'd get run back here a lot. And that was not good enough. I've also wanted to do a build where I would have all these control switches on like a panel down here on the floor. Or in a control room. So maybe my workstation just becomes a control room and I don't have to do anything other than just turn systems on and off, and the systems will do all the killing. But, you know, again, I do it for the loot. So you get them killed, you loot them. As quick as possible before they take damage and they end up popping. Storage boxes for in my workstation. I didn't really do a tour of my workstation, but y'all probably know what that looks like. Those of you that know the game. Here, I'm just double checking the cameras are working right. And they're tracking me. Got them set to track me as well as the zombies. So here's time to turn everything on. And it seems like kind of a pain in the butt to have to turn on this many switches, but again, the zombies only come from one side. So, you know, come Horde Night, you turn everything on. You find out where they're coming from. You could go turn off one or two other sides if you wanted to, just to save power, but I don't find it's even necessary. There, I was looking for a place to spawn zombies up against. I knew I wanted to do in the corner. Doing this test in the daytime, it doesn't really show the lights very well. But it works. You saw that earlier in the video. Any movement, they'll light up. You can change with the timing. I mean, I will probably add more lights so that the lights will stay on longer. I figured, you know, 25 feral zombies ought to be a reasonable test. It's more than you'd ever get in the game at one time. And you can hear dart traps going off. But not very often. Just enough. So I thought, oh, you know, what the hell. I do like I do in game, and I know a lot of people don't like these 50 columns because they get their heads in the columns like that. But there is a way to make them get their head out, pull their head out of the column. You just gotta draw them to that side. Whatever side they need to move to get their head out of the column, you gotta draw them that way. I think it was about here where I was trying to get to do that, but the zombies kept, you know, you need to be pretty sharp angle to the side of them, and they just kept getting more of them down here. So I just kind of gave up on that idea. Like, well, let's go crossbow. I'm a heavy user of the crossbow. These two weapons right here, crossbow and a spike club. Two favorite weapons in the game. They're quiet. You're not going to attract zombies with a bunch of noise. Not that it's really much of a problem, but I was expecting a lot of lag in this because of all the electricity, and there is quite a bit. I wish I would have turned on my FPS counter when I was doing this recording, but I didn't. And once I finish with these recordings, I haven't been back into here yet, so what I might do is go in, make repairs, and get everything back to, well, the way it was when I started the base tour, with my FPS counter on, and then spawn more zombies. Try it again. And I'm just kind of half-assing this defense. As you see, I'm not defending at all. But it's one thing I like about my bases is I want the base to do more work and me to do less work. I need to be looting. Now here, I just completely forgot about, not forgot, but didn't care about these zombies over here. See, he did take out that one block, and that does happen in game. But I will have 50s in my hotbar here to be able to pop back up in here, but he's in the way, so I can't put that frame there. So you gotta kill him, or at least get rid of whatever's in your way. You can hear dart traps going again, on occasion. Not too much, but like I said, it wasn't intended to be a full-time thing. And one thing I've noticed doing all this, I don't know, you know, I've tried, sorry, change the subject real quick. There's spikes behind them. I've tried turning them spikes upside down, and you know what? I like them better this way. Zombies still get in between them. But what I was going to say was, you notice these crawler zombies are not attacking the pillars. Not the ones on the ground. And I think that's just a creative mode thing, because I can tell you, I'm still doing repairs in game. And I've got this bunker design. Probably one of my biggest inspirations was a YouTuber named Grand Spartan. I just didn't feel the need to build an underground maintenance tunnel for spikes like he does, because I just maintain them between the columns. Doesn't matter what tool you've got, if it's a hammer, a wrench, or nail gun, they'll reach, no problem. The key is to get your loot. The key is to only have your pit 2 meters wide, deep, front to back. That sounds better. And if you get the timing down, hit them no problem when they poke their heads out. It has been a while. I don't think I've run into these White Walkers in game yet. And that light drives me nuts when that light's on. You cannot see your crosshair. What I'm thinking about doing is going in and modifying my game files and brighten that up so it'll quit disappearing. Because if you know the game, there's no way those shots should have been missing. I don't know if that's lag or what. That's when I figured out, okay, they're all crawling now. They're all on the ground level. Now I can start taking them out a lot more effectively. This goes back to what I was saying earlier. You just get to the side of them, smack them once, they'll pull their head out of the column, and then you smack them in the head. You just need to be able to get to the side of them at a pretty sharp angle. See how much more effective that is when you've got the space to do it. That hole could become a problem if there were dogs. But if there were dogs, then obviously I wouldn't have been mucking around with all the other stuff. I'd have got that hole filled earlier. And then here's where I decided it's time to go test this system. These pressure plates here, they cause a lot of lag. Holy cow. These pressure plates too, you'll see. But nothing really makes it past that area. I'm doing very, very little damage. I'm getting a couple of shots off, but I'm probably missing half of them. So, 2 electric fence systems was one of the keys. Because if it's on one system, you know, they get zapped by it for a 5-second stun rate, and then it resets. But you know, by then they're already running at you. So 2 separate systems means they run from one into the other, and they never have a chance to recuperate. And those of you that know the game know that you're never going to have 25 White Walker zombie wandering horde come happen into your bat cave entrance. There may be some, but they certainly won't be 25, and they won't be White Walkers. Yeah, I know there's tougher zombies out there, but like I said, this is an average test, a better than average test. And I was like, better get an axe and clean up. Even in game, I just clean up with a steel axe or a iron axe. Nah, I did forget to turn the dart traps off. You know, if you were to do that in game, I'll bet you only forget once. But you start to see the lag a lot, and honestly, I think it's more the pressure plates than it is the corpses. A little bit of damage. One click each. But that was my base tour. And I thank you folks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And if you've enjoyed what you see, please don't forget to give the video a like and a share if you'd like to have somebody else see it. And I hope to see you again on the next one. Have a good night.